And we're live with another coaching session. Today I have Dragorach. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. How do you
It's a
pronounce it?
soft CH, so it's Dragorach.
Dragorach. Got Dragorach with me. Flex support around the 4.3k range in terms of SR. So yeah, as per usual, just give us a little bit of introduction, Dragorach. Sorry. What are your goals? What are you struggling with? You know, where do you want to go with your Overwatch career? What are we going to be watching? Is there anything specific any specific issues that you have that you want to work on? Just give us a little bit of a rundown.
Okay, so I've been on, I believe, 4 or 5 different teams, all playing flex support. I've been to 2 LANs, the last one which we won. I currently coach a diamond team, but I may end up trying out for teams fairly soon. I'm not exactly sure what my plans for Overwatch are. I'd like to go pro, but collegiate is also an option if going pro doesn't work out. I'm 16 right now, so I really have a year and a half before I could even play on the stage. And then I basically play Ana for this whole VOD. I play Lucy for, I believe, one fight at the end. I'm an Ana main. I have just over 200 hours on her and been playing her since season 2. Yeah.
Anything in particular you struggle with, or feel like I'm not quite grasping this? Maybe I struggle with this. Anything in particular?
Specifically on Ana, I feel like I get caught out with like Widow Sight Lens, or I get picked by a flanker, that sort of thing. And it happens, I think, a couple times in this VOD. But it's one of my bigger weaknesses, that and maybe being too much of a heal bot. Like I just, especially in this VOD, my team feeds a lot, so I can't really find opportunities to be that aggressive.
Okay, well, we'll take a look and we'll see what we have here. And this is a recent game, right?
Yeah, I just played this yesterday. I still have the replay.
Gotcha. Again, we got the classic bunker. So how do you generally play Ana when you're playing bunker compositions? Or like, not bunker, but when you have this type of a front line? What do you generally keep in mind?
Well, in this meta at least, I'm looking for the pull from the enemy Orisa. So I try not to play too close to our main tank. And then I generally want to stay close enough so that if a flanker comes, I'll be within range to get close to my tanks, and watching for sightlines, because the shield will be static, so Widows will be able to just walk around it, that sort of thing.
So, and based on like the rest of your composition, is there anything else you can kind of note? Do you generally, as the game starts, do you take a note of like, yeah, I need to focus on this in this round? Do you generally do that or no?
Yeah, generally, like, if I see we have a Genji, I'll know, okay, I'll really want to try and farm Nano quickly. Or if, like, we have a Mei here, so I'm thinking if she gets a good wall off, I'll go for anti off of the wall.
Okay, good.
Or with pull, I can try and hit an anti there.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to keep those things in mind. Something you can also note is when you have these tanks, and then you have Mei as well, and even Lucio, you have a lot of heroes in this composition who are kind of self-sufficient. The only one who isn't self-sufficient is the McCree. So obviously you have to make sure that you take care of the McCree, especially in case he goes flanking, because naturally these guys, they will have a shield. He has a self-heal, he has a self-heal, she has a self-heal, and you know, unless you really lose shield war super fast, you also have the Mei wall, and if the Mei is good, you can block pull hooks with the Mei wall as well. So really, you should be pretty set in the frontline fights with these 3 heroes. So really, you should be focusing on, okay, how do I enable my McCree? And also, because this is kind of your only priority, you can also think, well, how do I set up plays? And I liked what you said. I'm going to wait for walls and see if I can lob in a nade off of a wall. But you can also potentially look for off angles at times from which you can hit them, even without the wall, especially since, like you say, in the Orisa meta, shields will be very static. So you can, if you go around and you look for side angles, you can often lob in a nade that way, right? So it's something you can look for as well. You don't necessarily have to look for a Mei wall. So let's take a look how this first fight plays out.
Hi team.
Hello.
Yo, go middle wall.
Wild.
Getting
Damn, Hanzo.
You dodged the pull, very good. You should never get pulled as a support. A little bit close, but you're aware of it.
Come here.
Okay, we're close to the. Oh, there's a hog on that.
Pull him.
I have a.
Yes, this is what you were kind of talking about, right? Like you guys blow your cooldowns, but you win the control here, and you hide and you don't really do anything. You're just kind of a heal bot, even though for like 2 or 3 seconds, the entirety of your team, they're not taking damage.
Okay, we're close
right?
to the. Oh,
Yeah.
Pull him.
I'm not saying you should flank or you should do something crazy, but you should at least peek for information, just to see if you can maybe lob in a nade from there. Maybe you can take a position here and then lob in something from there, right? Like you know that the enemies are going to be stuck. So if the shield is there, you can either lob it over the top here, or you can potentially find the backline like this. But because you play so defensively, one, you don't have that at your disposal. You can't really be aggressive. 2, what is another issue with your positioning? Why do you want to see what's going on here as well, beyond that?
So that I can poke?
Yeah, that's good. In case they're full HP and you're always doing something, you're farming the nano, that's good. What else?
Looking for anti-nades. I feel like that'd be poking too.
No, that we already covered. I'm thinking
Okay.
about something else, something more from a valuing your life perspective.
Oh, I'm not close to my tanks and McCree if there's a flanker.
That's one. And another thing?
I don't know.
So,
Valuing my life.
so you're correct in terms of flankers. You have no idea. Maybe someone's coming over there, but you don't know that because you didn't peek. And your team winning the ground here, you should be taking a look, judging the fight, and making the best possible decision. Now, obviously, you would see if someone is flanking. Number 2, what we talked about, the pull. So the pull you can dodge based on counting the cooldown and expecting when it's going to come down. Usually the pull comes out just at the same time as the shield goes down, or like the shield goes down and then the pull comes out. Now it's still on cooldown, but if you stay here, a pull could very easily come around here, like closer to you, right? And then you could potentially get pulled because you don't see you only see it coming when it passes this line. But if you're positioned here or here, you can see that. You can see it, and if your front line is here, you can position yourself before. Because really, if they're holding that line and your team is holding that line, then you should be like that, right? Like in the beginning, your team was holding here, so your position was fine. But as soon as you shift to holding this way, then you should probably go this way or look for a flank nade, whatever it may be. But you need to have all of that information available to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
Especially now, like now you've ended up too close to your front line. But this, again, this you could have foreseen based on how easily you won the ground fight here and the fact that they're going to go main. Obviously, you can be a little more defensive. You can hold this thingy, but the other one on the right side, you could potentially hold that just in case they want to push out again. So you're careful. But once you see them committing to main, then you can you can move around this area, but still being afraid for the pull hook. Now, if you're here, even if he pull hooks or pulls here, very difficult to hook through this angle because he's hooking upwards. He can't, a Roadhog can't really get an angle from main even if you get pulled here. But if you get pulled here into here, then you can actually get pulled or hooked. Rather.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Boom. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't seen this, but immediately.
I got a wrist.
And now you don't die, but you know
Nice,
you don't want to
nice.
take that
Let's
risk.
go.
Reloading. And I wasted nade there too.
Well, I don't mind the nade because you saw that 5 people got naded. Someone might get hooked, someone might take damage. I don't really mind that nade. Obviously, yeah. If you were here, you would be able to actually make a decision. Do we need the nade or do we not need the nade? Because there might be a situation where one of your Roadhog gets pulled and then you want to nade and hit him and the front line. And that's a game-changing play. But now you don't have that at your disposal because you weren't smart enough with your positioning, because you weren't here. You weren't judging the fight properly. You were working with very limited information. And that's how you have to dodge the pulls. You count the seconds and then you rotate away. And like I said, it's not like you have to play in Africa super far away from the shield, right? Like you just can't play here. But even if you play here, sure, he could potentially pull you over here, but then the Roadhog can't hook that far. So really, it's okay. It's not horrendous to get pulled, but it has to be outside the hook range. Now, obviously, you still have to be careful. You don't want to get pulled if they have a Widow, right? And then further back in, you're going to get pulled into Widow sidelines. But when you're only worried about the pull hook, this is something you have to consider. Just being further away from the Roadhog. So you have to measure your distance based on where the Roadhog is.
Break shield.
There's a McCree on the left.
Wait, get the Mercy on the left. Oh, he one-tapped me. What the frick?
Hog sleeping. He's low.
Yeah, you know, if you had a naded, you could have potentially naded the Hog and killed him, right? So
Oh my god.
you don't get to use your
Mercy was
cooldowns proactively.
Reloading.
Don't really feel like you need the nade there either.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Mercy.
Like, I know she takes a lot of damage, but she's right next to cover, so she's not going to take any more damage, and she's the only one that is low, and you want to avoid wasting cooldowns like this. Obviously, people are dead. They're not grouped as 6. A push might not be coming, so you might get it before next fight as well. But still, if someone is sloppy, like the Roadhog pushed you over here, that's what you want that nade for. You don't want to waste it on a single person. And you can easily heal him up. You know, like he takes cover immediately. Of course, he's going to take cover.
Yeah. Reloading. Hog on right side, no hook.
I'm coming back.
I'm
Support
dead.
May.
Oh, and of course, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask.
I have Nano here.
Amping speed, get out of there.
I like what you say there. I have Nano. Always want to call that you have a Nano and immediately consider who you're gonna. I'd be pressing tab a little earlier and just thinking, okay, who do I want to use it on? And as I say, I have Nano, I would also say I'm probably going to use it on you or whoever you want to use it on, just so they know that they know they can take more risks. There will obviously be times where we want to use it defensively. Say your Roadhog gets bull hooked here, you might just Nano him as he's flying in to save him potentially. But it's good, as you're calling it, to call who you're going to use it on. Now, what do you think about your positioning here?
It's really far back, and I don't have great sight lines of the enemy team. I can see the shield, but that's not really gonna give me much.
Can you play make from this position?
There's a chance I could hit it off the wall behind the shield, but that'd be pretty hard.
Yeah, it's much harder. It's not as reliable. Yeah.
So I should go back to white, I think, and play like those weird wall things.
So obviously you have to pay attention to your shield. Your shield is in a little bit of a weird spot because you don't really want to go here unless someone is controlling this area. You just saw a Roadhog come out here, so you don't want to have any business fighting him. So unless your shield
May was up there.
Exactly. If she is there, then you can definitely go there. So that's what you have to pay attention to. Does someone control this? Because if your risk controls this, your mate controls this, completely fine for you to play here, right? You can still push up and look for place. You're also scouting the right side in case someone is flanking. Much easier for you to hit nades like this. If someone, and you're still safe from the pull hook. You still have a mini to play on. You can't get zoned out of the fight as easily. A lot of things you can do. So something to pay attention to.
Reloading.
And it doesn't have to be Mei, you know, it could be McCree, like a McCree will, if you have a McCree, or McCree will often in control play White Room.
Hog on right side, no hook.
So now you can't. But as soon as you see her moving in, and especially because the Roadhog just used his hook. If you use this hook, he's super vulnerable. You can easily outduel him. And especially when she's going there as well. So you did very well to take cover so that he doesn't hook you once he peaked. But once he's used it, you can take more risks again. And especially when she's coming here. So if both of you take this position, you guys can control it much easier.
Okay.
And then also you're in a position where you can help her. If you're here and she gets into a 1v1, and you can tell her that you're pocketing her, maybe she can grab you a kill as well, instead of potentially using her ice block to save herself, her wall to save herself, because you want her cooldowns to be used offensively. But if she's completely on her own here holding this space and you don't have LOS on her, then you know she might blow those cooldowns. So you don't want to you don't want to get your teammates in positions where they use their cooldowns like that. Like here, you know, you could have slept, you could have naded him. But now he survives, right? He survives because you're not here to nade. He gets naded by their Ana and survives. But he 100% should be dead, right?
Yeah. I have Nano here.
And that's what you should seek all the time. Like what's like in general, what does this position give you as an advantage over people who are playing here?
High ground.
Exactly. So always, if you can, seek this. So if someone is here, I want to go here.
Speed, get out of there.
Always high ground. Makes your life much easier.
Hanzo one left.
People.
What do you think about that nade?
I think I missed it mechanically. I think it might have been okay if I had actually hit both of them, which was what I was aiming for. But it was short by
Speed, get out of
a
there.
decent bit. And then the Mercy went to Hanzo one left. pistol me.
Yeah, it comes out way too late. Yeah, like you see her flying over, she's always gonna, or most of the time she's gonna shift over. Yeah, I mean if you hit both of them, probably good. But at the same time, you guys are under a lot of pressure. As you can see, you have a lot of critical teammates.
I'm dead.
But really, like all of this happens just because you're not controlling this.
Okay.
Obviously, Roto would have died, but even if he doesn't, then this is what you're holding, right? Like this is the space that you're holding. Now, who is really using Orisa Shield? No one is really using an Orisa Shield. You're here, someone is there. You guys are so split, and you're not in a position where you can see all of your teammates. Like now you can see all of your teammates, so you can make good reads. But as soon as someone pulls your attention over here, then you don't see all of these guys. Which is why this position is strong again, because even if Hanzo is here, you can still look into the entirety of your team, and it's easier for you to make a read how to use your cooldowns. That's why you need to think, how do I pivot with the shield? Obviously, if your Orisa falls back here and everyone falls back here and you lose all the space, then this is better.
Yeah. Nano here.
Amping speed, get out of there.
Hanzo one left.
People. Main two. Fuck.
I'm dead here.
Why would he drag
You have no on.
And you would have cover, you know, you could lob in nades, you can do so many things. But really, like when I'm watching your gameplay now, I don't see any openings where you can potentially hit an offensive nade, like a really fight-winning offensive nade. And that just comes back to your positioning, right? Like if you were in better positions, you probably would have seen those angles. But now you don't see those angles, which is why, you know, you say, oh, I end up being a heal bot. But again, all of that, just positioning, seeking high ground, making sure you're not playing too safe, but you're playing safe, but not too safe, right?
Okay.
Same thing like we talked about the first fight. You were playing way too safe, hiding behind the wall. You don't see anything.
To force us out so they could high noon.
Kinda nuts.
Hog sleeping.
I can wall him. Where's he sleeping?
He's way out in front.
He's way out, yeah.
Okay, now as you're coming into the next fight, I would repeat, you know, I still have Nano, I would be pressing tab, I would be thinking about scenarios in which I can get value out of the Nano, because there's not a lot of obvious answers. You could use it on McCree, you could use it on Mei, you could use it on Hog if it's close to the whole Hog. There's so many different ways you could use it. So I would be, during this dead time, I would be holding down tab and considering scenarios on this retake. How do I want to utilize my Nano? And I would be discussing it with my team. Right?
Yeah. Hanzo had Sonic.
Got the useful and fortify.
Huge! Oh my god. Oh.
You know, now it just came out of nowhere. Kind
Speeding.
of.
Oh, press W. I felt like I had to push up to get Nano off though.
Huge! Oh my god.
Yeah, the issue is just like it's kind of hard for him to do anything with the Nano. I feel like you can potentially just save him with a nade here. Just nade and then push around maybe Nano the McCree. Because really he's not in range to do anything with the Nano Hog. Like it would be different if the Nano took place here and their shield was here and you would be getting all the point presence off of this, right? But now because he's just not in range really. He popped it to kind of kill a target that he hooked. You know, like this wasn't a Nano me, I'm gonna whole hog. It was a I hooked a target. He didn't immediately die. I want a whole hog to finish off the kill. To me, at least. Take a look if that's the case.
Got the useful and fortify.
Yeah, you see, like she didn't immediately die. Like usually that's the case with mercies. Or a Roadhog can't really kill a Valking Mercy with one shot usually, and you know that's what happens. He saw that he couldn't kill her, but he knew he had secured the kill, and actually Orisa secured it, but that's why he whole hogged. So he's not in range to get any more value out of this, and as a result, it gets wasted. So that's why I'm saying it's so important for you during dead time to really outline scenarios in which you want to use your Nano, because Nano whole hog is really good if you use it at the right time in the right moment, considering the correct scenario. If you guys put down a shield, they put down a shield, Nano hog the shield, very, very good. But this was, he was essentially securing a kill. So in this situation, I think you could have saved him with nade, maybe nanoed McCree. McCree can flank with a nano. You guys close the fight out very quickly. I think that would have been better. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
you're probably right.
But do you agree? Like the fundamental issue is just like you didn't think about how you were gonna use it beyond that one time, a couple of minutes ago, where you said that you had nano. You didn't really think about how am I gonna use it.
Yeah, I was just thinking when hog ults, I'll just press Q on him.
Yeah, but you need to talk with him so that he knows. You know, so you don't end up wasting those ultimates. It's really important to talk with the targets that you want to nano so that they're ready, because there's so many nanos that you can blow by just using them and them not being ready. Happens all the time.
Oh, speeding.
Right, like now he's not in range of anyone. But if you waited a little bit, saved him, maybe they set up with another shield, you set up with your shield, you use the Nano Hog to probably secure a kill and break their shield, much better value.
Oh, press W.
I'm on Ana. I'm just gonna all. I don't.
Hog pushing right side, sleeping.
Nice. Use cover well.
We wasted a lot.
I don't care. I want to play.
So you're good at avoiding hooks, which, you know, at your rank you should be. You should understand how to play against the Roadhog, and you pretty much never get hooked. You know how to sleep him. You play cover well. It's just the little thing we touched before is when he's wasted the hook, being a little more aggressive and understanding that he's gonna have to fall back if he whiffs the hook, and just understanding that that's your kind of a 8-second window to do stuff.
So chug.
Now with Ana
Orisa's dead.
Hanzo sleeping here. Hanzo sleeping.
Speeding Orisa back.
Imagine if you were ready to sleep instead of doing this.
Yeah.
Play back.
Back up.
Back up.
Cream in.
So now you've ended up in kind of the position that we talked about before. Like you you'd rather be here than being in your main because it's so easy to zone you out and you can see your whole team, but still you only see your team, you don't see their team, right? So could potentially be using this.
Oh, you don't.
We need a bongo. Like,
Beating, no.
Boom, because you get pulled again, right? Same issue.
Yeah.
But you could have already been over there and hitting a nade from the back, potentially. You know, because as soon as you see them put down a shield, you know that shield ain't moving anywhere. But you see that it's defensive, you know. So if you're further back to start with, if you see them placing the shield here, then you know that, okay, I'm probably going to have a nade angle this way. If you see them putting it this way, you know that you don't have a nade angle here. Maybe you have one here, but your best angle is probably here. Because if their shield is here and no squish is pushed in front of that shield, it means the backline should be right around here. So that's your angle, which is why to find these angles, you need the information. You need to see your team and you need to see the enemy team in order to set up these plays.
Hawk sleeping. Just go point, go point.
Down point, down point.
Dodge and Hydros with the follows. Appreciate it, guys.
Fine. Okay.
Okay, I'd be talking continuously. So what can you do with Nano now? So if you're replaying the situation,
Hanzo's mini.
your hog just died. You have a lot of time to consider how to use your Nano. You have a lot of time to talk with your team. So assuming you start from now on communicating these things, what would you say to your team now? You have the Nano, you just press tab, you have a lot of information at your disposal. You see their comp, you see your comp. How do you use it?
I'd probably say whole hog on point if we can. Maybe make space with the high noon.
Yeah, you could do that.
Or if we need to use whole hog earlier and I can go for a nano on our McCree or Orisa, or just use it defensively some point in the fight.
Mm-hmm. You could potentially even Nano McCree, like tell him to flank up top and use it, right? That would potentially be an option. If you say, oh, McCree, maybe if you can sneak up top, I can Nano you. Otherwise, we can just Nano whole hog. And, you know, that's what I would put out there. And then it's up to him. You know, if he wants to try go for that play, maybe he does that, and then you have that at your disposal as well. You know, he peeks out on the point above, like in that little balcony. Or use them, but you've communicated with the people that you need to communicate with, and then it's up to them to respond. If they don't respond, then you make it the best read possible, but you communicate that information so that they know. So between every fight, as soon as you have the Nano, keep communicating that, and you're going to get a ton more value. Because like you saw, in the previous fight, you kind of wasted your Nano on the hog when you really didn't need to. Maybe you could have saved that Nano and it would have led you to winning the next fight. Remember in the choke point when you were typing, when your Mei got hooked, maybe you would have Nano'd her and then she survives and gets you a kill instead, and you just roll the rest of the round, right? Like that's why it's so important to not be wasteful with this, because you can use it both as a defensive cooldown to make up for another teammate's mistake, or you can use it as an offensive one. So keep this in mind and put a lot of effort into thinking about this between fights, okay?
Okay.
Aiden with the tier 1 sub. Appreciate it, my man. Welcome to Mineral Miners.
Career here.
Okay, he just dodges the pole. Ooh. So, what do you think I didn't like about this sequence up until this point?
I took damage. I don't know. I kind of skipped ahead a little bit, actually.
Okay, take a look at this again.
Career here.
What would you do better?
They used full.
Take a more aggressive angle, might be.
How so?
Go like between the line of, go right here, where my Mei is going right now, so that I have vision of the enemy team as well as my own.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't say so.
Here.
Because when you don't have a shield, a lot of spam is going to be coming through there, so you're going to potentially get picked, right? I don't think that's not really what I'm looking for. What is kind of your goal right now as you're retaking space?
Look for a pick.
No, that's not your job.
Well, keep my team alive so they can look for a pick.
And how do you stay alive as they're looking for picks?
Keep out of LOS of the enemy team.
So basically, you have to find safe checkpoints, right, as much as possible, so you can use cover. And the way you do that, like she will obviously be shielding you through the most dangerous spots, and as soon as she shields, that's your cue to cross to the next checkpoint. So like I said, you said, oh, I could go here as Mei. Well, no, a lot of spam is coming through there. You'd probably get picked. So I like that you go this way. But as soon as the Orisa shield goes down, that's when the spam from there is covered. That's when you take the next checkpoint, which is presumably here. And then you go forward again, right? Like that's what you have to consider, because you don't have a shield that you're moving with. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
They used 4.
Because you get hit here, and now you panic a little bit. But really, if we consider all of these things, boom, pull is out, right? And what did I say? As soon as the pull is out and the enemy pull is out, as soon as the enemy hook is out, either of those two, you can take more risks with your positioning. So now when the pull is out, you know that as you're crossing, you cannot get stopped. So if you have someone covering that angle, you will be able to cross in the next 8 seconds.
We're here.
They used 4.
So you get hit, but now you have the shield. So perfect moment to just cross here. It covers the door there. It covers any spam angles from there. You could get on the mega. You could potentially use the nade just to be a little safe, but you absolutely don't have to, because you have this cover. But you're in this moment too slow to realize that you have to make that rotation. So you just stay here. And you let the shield break. Now you're never crossing there.
Yeah, I think it's because I was scared of how low I got.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But because you weren't really thinking about the threats, the major threats are out. If the shield is here, you cannot get hooked because the pull is out. So that threat is out. So again, a little more risky. The shield is out. You can be a little more risky. You have a lot of options. And as you can see here, as the fight transpires, could have easily crossed there. Right? Like shield was somewhere around there. But you wait till it drops, and now you're taking even more damage. So you have to understand your timings to cross the checkpoints, and that's going to be with your shield. Which is why a lot of really good Orisas consistently call their shields, right? They say, oh, shield going down, next shield is coming up in 3 seconds, because then you know as a Nano player, okay, in 3 seconds, my shield is going to come down. I know it's not going to last forever, but I know that's going to be my window to potentially cross to another position. You know, obviously in ranked, not a lot of people communicate that, but in pro play, every single Orisa calls this. They call their shield cooldowns, their pull cooldowns, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all you need to call as Orisa. But you need to call them for this particular reason, so that everyone else knows when you're gonna look for those timings. So that the Roadhog knows, okay, shield is coming up. Now the Roadhog knows I'm gonna be able to peek and look for a hook because I'm gonna have the cover of the shield. But when you don't have that back and forth communication with the Orisa, you just have to absorb that information yourself and read into her movement, because it's really not hard to read into the movement. Even if she's not saying a single word, you know, as soon as he starts moving here, you know that a shield is gonna come up soon.
4.
And it does. And now the opening is gone. But if you were here, maybe you could have backed off. You know,
Piranha's dead.
maybe you would have died anyway to the dragon, but still.
Winnable. Big, huge. Burn Ursa.
Kill the Ursa.
Watch
Nice.
McCree.
And Hanzo in our flank behind you.
Yeah, Hanzo and Mini. Behind you.
Can we pull him?
We already used it.
I don't want
Hanzo pushing me. He's low.
Nice.
Nice, thank you.
Again, you're
coming back.
good at
3 mega.
using cover, and like these duels, you're very good at surviving them and not dying. You know how to play each matchup, so that's pretty good.
Oh,
We have Nano Hog.
I like the call, Nano Hog. He gets naded, obviously you can't do much about it, but you at least put it out there. That's very important.
Just nano me and speed me, brother.
No, I'm gonna Nano Hog.
Okay, good. You communicate.
Alright, we gotta go, like...
What else could you potentially communicate that would maybe help him get a little bit more value when you say, I'm gonna Nano you, Hog?
Wait till point and maybe wait for cooldowns to go.
Yeah, you could say Lucio save speed, right? So that if you could nano boost and speed the hog potentially. Like you say, if more cooldowns are out, it's probably, especially if like the sleep is out, the pull hook is out, the flashbang. There's a lot of ways to stop the whole hog, which is why I don't really actually mind putting it on the brig either. Potentially, if you find a good opening, just flank and speed boost Nano at the brig. She can get in their face and create a lot of damage. A lot easier to cancel him. But yeah, potentially just speed boost so that he can be a little more mobile. It's easier for him to dodge. You combine those two. So you don't get stuck in main like you did last time.
She touch point.
Alright, we gotta go, like,
You gotta
now.
go.
No, I'm gonna nano hog.
Alright, we gotta go, like,
You gotta
now.
go. Like,
Go. That guy's dead. Hold up.
She touch point.
Yeah, now you didn't have enough time, so it doesn't matter. But what I mean, if this was saying 70%, not an impossible, not a terrible option to if you set up with a shield here to like flank with speed boosted Nano brig over here as well. You can easily push out to McCree or whoever is holding there. So that's another thing you can add to your arsenal. He's not the only Nano target that you could go for. Now there's not enough time; it doesn't really matter, but just something to think about.
Watch for dragon.
Freeze, flash. I tried
Go
to-
Cards.
But at the same time, if in that situation you don't have a Lucio, then it might be difficult to nano her because she can't really close the distance on other people. So it's all situational.
Go point.
That's why it's so important to always think about it because it always changes.
Okay.
But it's pretty clear from what we've seen so far is that you're playing a little too defensive a lot of times. You're not shifting the way you position yourself based on the cooldowns that the enemies have wasted, and then you're not really thinking about the nano as much as you should, especially when you have dead time. Wait, let's see the comp here.
I think it's almost the same.
Is he gonna swap or is he gonna play Lucio?
I think he still plays Lucio.
Okay, so now you've changed your DPS players, and you've changed the stage. What is your focus heading into next round now?
Well, a big one's the Pharah because I am basically the only one who can heal her.
Yeah.
Lucia won't be in range.
Yeah, you're gonna be giving a lot of resources to her, for sure.
And then watching the angles I play so that I can actually heal her, and then probably looking for Nano on either of my DPS.
Nano Pharah, very, very strong. We saw Shanghai almost perma-nanoing their Pharah and getting an incredible amount of value, so definitely a very good Nano target, regardless of whether a barrage is on the table or not.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if no ult is on because there's no good ult to combo with except for the whole hog, but that's, if he doesn't have it, probably the best option to just not dry nano, right? Like if you're thinking about targets who are good to nano who don't have their ultimates, McCree, pretty decent, puts out a ton of damage. Pharah, pretty decent. Genji, not optimal. Obviously, you want the blade, but if he doesn't have it, not terrible if he can get in a good enough position. So yeah, just something to think about. Definitely better than Junk, but Junk also not horrendous. He can pretty much suicide jump in with a nano and just do a ton of damage as well.
And he does pretty close to 200 with nano boosted shots. So
exactly. And then Winston, obviously another great target, notoriously a great target. Diva, potentially, if you communicated with her and she has her boosters, say she can fly at a Pharah or whatever, another good target without the ultimate, so something to consider as well. Who are my priorities to nano when I don't have an ultimate to combo with?
big anti, 4-man, 5-man. I kind of yell.
I'm trying to think what to think about this. I think this is fine. I think this is fine because you guys have a Lucio, and most teams in this meta, when you're playing these compositions, won't. So if they do have a Lucio, they're most likely playing a Reinhardt composition, which is fine for you to go here. But because you have a Lucio and they don't have a Lucio, and you guys both have shields, you can see how much further your shield is compared to theirs. And you wouldn't want to get stuck back in your main. So you're going to put up a shield here, you're going to look for a pull hook, and then you're probably going to rotate back to point. So actually, I don't mind you stepping that close to the front line here and looking for that nade, simply because you will be controlling more space here, and you, as your team is falling back there, you don't want to get zoned out and stay main. So I don't mind this, actually. You guys break shield fast, and you find a really fat nade.
4 men, 5 men.
That's good.
Hog sleeping.
And you win the fight.
Push, it's free space. Nice, dude.
If you guys don't have a Lucio, maybe something you can consider as well. Like, be a little more careful with that, because you did get pulled.
Shit.
It's just that you guys beat them to the spot, and you guys break the shield much faster than them.
Can you pull up?
Okay.
Can you pull up? Upper?
So she's not full HP now, right?
She isn't?
If she's a little yellow, she isn't, right?
I don't know, I'm colorblind.
Because you see, these guys are green, and she's... Oh,
Yeah.
so you don't actually see that?
No, it's very slight.
Ah, okay.
It's one of the problems with the colorblind settings. It doesn't actually help with that sort of thing.
Ah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I was thinking, because you do have to pay a lot of attention to her, and like now you can see this guy is green and she is yellow, but you don't see that. Or do you see any difference?
Now that you're pointing it out,
Yeah.
but like,
Okay, gotcha.
it's hard to notice.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes I'll shoot at targets that are full health because I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was just wondering because you clearly looked at her and saw that she wasn't full HP in my mind, and you didn't step out to just give her a little lick, give her a quick shot. But yeah, if you're colorblind, it's a little harder.
Unlucky. Go next.
Hanzo top.
So what do you think about your positioning?
I think I'm kind of isolated to this lion, and I'll probably have trouble rotating back to point.
Yeah.
Unless we get a shield down.
Mm-hmm.
And if they pressure Arissa here, I'll be caught out for sure. Because she won't put down shield again here.
Yeah, like she's gonna fall back and probably go there, right? What
I'm
else?
already low health. I basically have to walk into the Hanzo sightlines.
Mm-hmm. You're using the shield, but you're only using it if you get shot from or like when you're playing here, you're only shielded from there. You can get shot from there, you can get shot from there, and it is not. It's pretty difficult to position yourself in this situation, actually. But where would you say is optimal when you guys put down the shield here?
Probably
like right now.
I don't know. Maybe either right here, which might just be outside of the pull hook, or back here where I started.
Yeah, I think those are good. Just as long as you're close to this corner, because you have to understand that as soon as this shield breaks, most likely you guys are falling back to point. So you just need to be ready for that rotation. Now, yeah, I think could be fine, especially if you see them using their pull. If you see that their pull is used or wasted, you can definitely play this position, I think. Because then you're closer to the shield, and then you're shielded from this angle. Because as soon as you take this, now Hanzo can still pick you. So if you play this position and you see that Hanzo climbs up there, you can no longer play that position. You probably have to rotate over here, or even here, and just wait for your team to rotate back, because Hanzo has this spot and he can shoot over shield.
Okay.
Can you pull upper?
Yeah, because now you'd be here, you'd see him, probably go back here. But you're way too far out in the open, looking for damage here.
There's a McCree on the right.
Especially now, you see, like now the pull was out, right? So if we think about it this way, right? Like as soon as you see that, you would optimally, like we said, you would be here probably. As soon as you see that, boom, you can go here and you can use the shield for 8 seconds. So very, very important in this meta to just keep track of this and the hook.
There's a McCree on the right.
Hanzo, Tom.
Because you could have potentially died there.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll contest point.
He's anti.
Not a fan of that. If you don't hit the sleep, I'm really not a fan unless you... So anytime you anti-nade one person, either you need to gain a ton of space from it, or you need to, or like a huge advantage off of it, or you need to be able to secure a kill. And that's just kind of judgment based, because really, like, he's not doing anything here. He can't really contribute to his team. As soon as you guys step here, he's gonna have to run away. But if he can step in here and force you to use both of these cooldowns, he's gotten a lot of value.
Yeah, I think I do it another time actually.
Yeah. So if you hit the sleep, perfectly fine. Like it's even okay, I think. It's not terrible to go for a sleep because really, like, you're not really gonna have a ton of sleep angles in this comp as well. So this could be a free kill that just completely yields you the team fight. But now, like, again, if everyone was here and you hit the nade and you can speed and chase him, different scenario. But now you know that your team is so far away, so using the nade here, really not worth it. Unless you know you can kill him 1v1. And to do that, you probably need to hit a shot first, then nade, then hit another shot, and potentially maybe Lucio could catch and kill him.
He's anti.
Okay.
Healing.
But now again, he got a lot of value, right? He got the pull and he got both of your cooldowns, and I think he got the speed. So
There goes. These
Watch for Lucy behind. Hog on left. Hog anti. Hog anti. Hog sleeping left side. Lucio outside as well.
Dude, that
Hanzo
window,
main, Hanzo
where
main.
can I fit through it?
Hanzo 1.
Hanzo's our side.
oh,
Lucio outside as well.
Dude, that
Hanzo
window,
main, Hanzo
where
main.
can I fit through it?
Hanzo
I don't think you can hit this nade anyway. Right? I don't think you can hit this on the mega because that's where he's going. He's going to the mega.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
I was just throwing
our
it.
side.
You got mega probably. Kill him though, please. Fire, go both. Okay.
Hanzo's trying to
Oh, there we go. Oh
Oh
no.
wow.
Hanzo's playing fair.
Boom. The Widow is, as soon as you see this, the game changes. You have to be even more careful. Like all the positional mistakes you made before becomes 100 times more important, that you always pay attention to where she is.
Watch for Lucy.
Because you can never expose yourself to where she's gonna, the angle that she's gonna be holding. And if you do, it has to be for a very, very minimal amount of time. And when that happens, you have to know that you're exposing yourself to her. Okay, so that's why it's, and the way you do that. Okay, so number one, know where she is. Don't expose yourself. And number three, if you have to expose yourself, because sometimes you will have to do, it comes back to this. You have to know that you are doing that, right? Because so sometimes you will have to cross your sidelines. So you have to, you know, hide your hitbox. You have to do a lot of different things to make sure that you don't kill. But if she takes another angle and you don't know that she's holding that angle, that's how you die, just running in a straight line. So very important that you pay attention to the Widow. So immediately as you see that, I'd be very worried, because now you're kind of, you know, you're not really considering. She could easily be peeking out here. You don't know that. So you have to play in a position where she can't conceivably get a pick on you.
Hanzo's
Alright,
blind
he's playing
somewhere.
fair.
Watch for Lucy.
So where do you need to go?
Either that doorway or that doorway, I think.
Mm-hmm. And those positions, there's no conceivable sideline really that she could take. And that's pretty much what you have to do until you know where she is.
Oh, hook. Hanzo behind still.
Stop running away from me.
Hog low.
Hanzo's behind still.
Lucy behind as well.
So you guys just get flanked from
Down point.
different directions. Instead of giving information, you could potentially, because now you, like, your positioning was so compromised the whole fight, because you know people are behind, so you don't really want to go there, but at the same time you know that has to be cleared or you guys are just going to lose the fight. So something you can do as well is just give more orders. If you know that the Hanzo needs to be dealt with, you can give a specific name, say like Roadhog, push behind the point with me, or whatever it may be.
That was good though. You got 75.
You guys have a Widow, they have a Widow.
Two fights. Huge, huge.
Hey, that's a kill.
Break shield, break shield. Huge, huge.
Hey, that's a kill.
Do you usually nade your hooks?
Generally only when the target has more than 200 health.
Okay.
Break shield, break shield.
Widow's one. Nice, go in.
Hunters on coast, be
Yeah.
careful.
She dies anyway there,
Fresh nutted.
so it doesn't matter.
Way.
Break shield, break shield. Nice. Hog low, hog low.
Hunter's still alive, be careful.
Nice, dude. Let's go. We can hold choke. Should as well.
Okay, like the starting position. Freelancing. now?
Rotate.
Yeah.
Hanzo top
Right back where we started.
Anti around the corner.
Now she even has walls. Okay, now you
Sides
you
up.
fall back when she has sights. But even like imagine if she didn't pop sights and she just peeked out there, she could potentially have gotten an angle. And at your rank, the widows
Hanzo
will.
top. Watch Hanzo, watch Hanzo.
Hit those shots.
Yeah.
Hog's going to
Hog's
point.
going to
He's
point.
left.
Get him.
Oh, he
I'll go,
booped him
I'll
out
go.
of the nade.
What's
Yeah.
up, Nano?
Hey, we did it.
Focus hog, please. Hog, hog, hog.
You haven't gotten hooked a single time. That's good.
Play like
He's pretty
big in McCree.
Now you have Brig.
Point.
So yeah, something to consider. Potential Nano target when you have the Lucio as well.
Yeah.
Actually, if 2-2 happens, the scenario is impossible. But
Well, if he wants to run Widow, we probably should go.
Well, depending on what slot Brig is put
pretty
in,
good at it.
sorry. Yeah,
she
that-
could be
that's
put
true.
in a
That-
flex spot.
Yeah, that's true. That would be funny if 2-2 comes to kill 3-3 and then she's just put in the
Just be
DPS
careful
slot.
if they have Widow.
Or just sit point. Smile. I'm full.
I felt like this was the worst round out of the whole
They
map.
are.
Yep, their balls at our bridge. They're rank Vera. Okay, go point. I'm speeding. Go.
Get the bug. Get the bug.
I'm anti.
Oh yeah.
Widow got me.
Bridge. They're rank Vera. Okay, go point. I'm speeding.
I just had no idea she was even there.
Because they're probably gonna run ball.
Could have pressed tab.
Balls at our bridge.
Could have pressed tab now. Right, 14 seconds in,
Yeah.
you should know their comp, so you could press tab, and that's the only thing you have to do all the time. Like you're not pressing tab enough both to like consider your options with your nano boosts and also paying attention to their comp. So all use tab a little more for that purpose, because as soon as you know that the widow's there, okay, you're not gonna cross here really, or like here before you know where she is. You know that she's there. You know you're probably gonna play there, or at least you will know that if you want to cross here, you will try to hide your head hitbox, which is what I was talking about before. You have to know when you're crossing her sidelines,
Vera.
because when you don't know, that's when
Okay,
it's a
go
free
point,
shot
I'm
for the
speeding.
widow.
Go.
Get the bug. Get the bug.
Boom. You would have seen that shot on someone else, and you would have known.
I'm anti.
Here, Genji.
Widow got me. We're down 2.
Genji, no.
Winnable though.
You know, and that's what like a lot of people ask, say, how do you deal with the widow? You just have to be aware. You have to be aware of her sidelines and just not give her an angle. And we know and you have to know when you have to give her when you are given an angle. That's really what it comes down to.
It wasn't winnable, but I like to hold him.
Yeah, gonna be rough for you to retake now. Because like you have to wait for your tanks to create space for you. This point notoriously difficult to retake. especially when they have the Pharah.
Hello.
Okay, you're crossing through the checkpoints pretty well.
Shit.
You're peeking for a Widow.
What are you? Boop.
Still don't know where she is. Okay, now you saw her. Now you know that that's the angle she's got.
Mm-hmm. Far outside, far outside.
And you stay a little long exposed here.
Shit.
What are
As soon as you see her there, if you're crossing from here to here, you need to be careful. You need to, you know, hide your hitbox. Turn your butt to that side. Unless you know that she's not looking at you. So there you could have potentially made the judgment, okay, she's not looking at me, I can cross.
Yeah, just take point.
Hanzo 1, Hanzo 1.
Ball inside, ball inside.
What?
What do you think about that nade?
It would have been okay if we were there to actually focus the target, but we got pretty split here because we're running the Winston Hog, and
Yeah, just take point.
like the Winston was here to poke him, but then walked away.
But it's also, again, we're back to the same situation where you're nading a singular target, and it's not 100% guaranteed kill, right?
Yeah.
He still has a ton of HP. He can easily roll around unless you sleep him, which you can't. You've wasted your sleep.
Yeah.
Who's gonna stop him? No one's gonna stop him. He's just gonna roll around. And if you think about it, a determination you should have made already here. If we go back a little, let's see, where do you press tab? If you look at this composition, how are you generally going to be using your nade against a composition like this?
Hopefully to get a couple of the DPS, or maybe, well, basically any target we can get a pick on.
Sure, but in general, how do you think, if you play optimally, how do you feel like you're most of the time going to end up using your nade?
On the ball, probably.
Ooh.
Or
no, that's one of the worst ones.
The Hanzo, then? Most of these targets are too high mobility to actually get kills off of.
Exactly. So with that in mind, because they're very mobile and it's going to be very difficult for you to pin them down, how will you most likely end up using your nade?
Not offensively, defensively.
Exactly, to save yourself, because you're almost never going to hit a multi-nade. You're also in a position where these guys can at any point jump and kill you or go for you. You have two snipers who can potentially hit a little bit of poke on you at any time. Even if you position yourself perfectly, very likely that one of them is going to hit you with a bit of poke. And if they hit you with a bit of poke, a rocket or... and a third one, like you have 3 heroes who can poke you down and 2 heroes who can potentially just jump in and finish you. Which means most of the time you're going to end up needing yourself just to save yourself as you're crossing from checkpoint to checkpoint. Because they're just too mobile. And that's kind of what you see here. Like, you've done well to not take any damage until this point, but now you're coming into dangerous ground here. Even with the advantage.
Ball inside, ball inside.
Genji dashed on you. Now he has a blade, you have Pharah shooting you from behind, you have a ball from behind. Would have been nice to have your nade now, right? Even if you would have died, maybe you could hit the nade on him. Or hit like a shot and a nade on him, and maybe you guys can trade that kill. But you naded the ball instead of understanding, okay, I'm going to probably need to use it defensively. And it's all based on compositions, you know? And that's why it's super important that you think about your comp and their comp. As soon as you guys switch to what you switch to and they're playing quad DPS or any comp really, you know, even in a 2-2-2 meta, say it's ball Diva or ball Winston, Sombra, Genji Tracer, anything that has a lot of mobility and might jump you, because you will be the primary target when you are retaking map control. Because if you look at your comp, what are they thinking? Who are the easiest targets for them to pin? Like, who will be priorities on your team to dive?
Me and Widow.
Yeah, exactly. He can run around and save himself. She can transecute out. Tanks, not that interesting. You too. So you have to understand when you are a priority target as well.
Sniper.
We're like all one.
Three.
I don't know.
Opal, do you play Genji at all?
No.
Okay.
So what angle do you have to be worried about now?
The Widow Sightlens, which I think she's playing back here.
Very likely that either Hanzo or him are playing there, which means as you're crossing here, you should know that you will be crossing. Even if they're not there, even if you don't know for sure, you should know that there's a 90% chance that they're holding. If you just saw that no one's holding that angle, almost certainly they're holding that angle, which means what?
I need to put my butt towards them and maybe ask for bubble or other protection.
Yeah, that's very good, and also be ready to nade yourself if needed.
Speed boost too.
Yeah, potentially, or just speed aura. But you peeked there, and you showed your head. You're even jumping, you know? This is the easiest shot. Imagine if there's a Sonic this, you're 95% of the time you're dead against a pro level player. Because you're even looking. And you showed the side of your hitbox towards that angle now. Even now, you know, like you could be crouch walking as well. Really, like you're showing the side of your hitbox constantly here.
They still have sights up.
Far as barrage up, guys.
You're constantly exposing yourself to these little openings too. But it's difficult. It's very difficult to position yourself properly here.
She's behind still, she's behind. I need help, I need help.
You see, like you're under so much pressure constantly, so you have to save the nade for yourself. That's what you see every single time as you're retaking. And now you didn't use it. You just FaceTime.
Yeah, and I mistimed her ult. I thought it would be over a little sooner.
But it's just like a trend I'm noticing that you get low a lot of times, but you get greedy and you don't want to nade yourself. And sometimes that is correct. Like sometimes you should probably save it, especially when you have shield and you have someone who can heal you up quickly. But a lot of times with these compositions, you're gonna have to, you know, you have to be a little more liberal with it.
Oh, I messed up the rollout here.
It's okay. Oh no!
It's okay.
Oh, look at that.
Everything heals.
Farah dead.
All one.
Nice.
I got two. It's winnable. Widow.
Look at this Lucio gameplay.
What a gamer.
Yeah.
Healing orb coming right side.
Completely a winnable game, boys.
They're going right. They have Blade, I think? Maybe Nano.
I feel like I played this really badly.
Okay. Widow bridge.
Why?
Hector? She's one.
Well, they're about to nano. I do basically nothing. I feel like I just like stand around waiting. I'm not really poking or anything. Although they do have the snipers, so poking is kind of hard.
Yeah, you can't poke, right? What is your win condition? with this composition? What is your tempo with this comp?
I don't really know because we're kind of playing the Winston Hog still, right?
Playing
Getting a
Hammond.
pick maybe? Oh, Hammond?
Yeah.
Oh, to isolate a target and then look for a hook on them. So getting my team to where they can do that.
So your tempo is going to be fast or slow?
fast.
And their tempo is going to be
Slow because they want to look for a pick.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the only thing you have to understand, which means you should look to take cover somewhere in a position where you're going to give up a little bit of space, but as soon as they push into that space, you're going to rush in, you're going to look for kills. And your position right now, is this the type of position for you to take to do that?
No, not really.
Yeah, because you can't really do anything, like you say, you can't really do anything from here. And you don't really want to wait till they get on the point, till they get all the flanks, till they poke you down. So where do you think you could play potentially and call for your team to play to set up, you know, for that type of tempo?
Near bridge, like where, right here.
Yeah, but potentially. Obviously a little risky because she can boop. You could also go inside the room and push further up on the Mega. Potentially something you could do as well. But you have to play up tempo regardless. So you would be hugging this wall, which means you're only vulnerable if the Widow goes all the way there and takes that angle. But you'll be able to see that. But it's just you're only exposed to one angle, and then you guys are ready to up tempo just dive them. Because if your Hammond is in the face of the Widow and the Lucio, that's when you can be out in the open. You don't have to be worried about the snipers. You can even go in, you can look for kills. But you have to create that type of opening. And until they've pushed forward to that area, you can't really do that. But you also have to be in a position where you're ready to pounce on that. If you're playing here, you're not ready to pounce on that at all.
Going right. They have Blade, I think? Maybe Nano.
Yeah.
Okay. Widow's
Widow
on left
bridge.
side.
Obviously, it would help if you had another dive tank as well, because it's very risky for the Hog to push over. He can still get booped, which is why I suggested maybe even play out there in IT, because when you're playing here, the Pharah can still poke you down potentially. And you don't have a lot of tools. Well, you have the McCree, but other than that, you don't have a lot of tools to deal with the Pharah. And crossing this is much more dangerous against the Pharah. So potentially you could play there. But if they're not playing a Pharah-less comp with double sniper, then you know this could potentially be safe too.
She's one. Please kill her.
Log on point.
You know, like I'd be calling. You ready, guys? Push, push. I'm gonna speed boost on the Widow and bridge. That's what I would be calling here. But you're just, you know, she's there. You just saw her shot. You saw that it's close as well. But you end up just standing. And
then I just.
Yeah. You're not paying attention to anything, you know, like
Yeah.
like I said, that position is fine as long as everyone's ready to push. But not like, no, there's no real plan. So you're not, and someone even called it they had the Nano Blade. So if you are going to play defensively, like you don't really want to play defensively, because if the Nano Blade comes in and you guys fall back, now Widowmaker gets that angle for free. She gets spots in. Even if you deal with a Nano Blade, the rest of their DPS are going to get so many angles. So that's why you want to play it quickly as well. But if you want to play defensively against the Nano Blade, you have to be ready to peel for it too. And I was just very unclear what your tempo is. You're close, other people are further back. You don't push the Widow, and then you're this close, but you can't really peel the blade or anything. So you're just kind of roam around and don't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to speed boost so that if he walked towards me, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, but
and then I'd have a chance to boop. I don't know.
You just didn't know how to play it.
Yeah.
You didn't understand the tempo. I think that's the biggest thing. That's what I saw there, because you were riding around on point, you were walking forward, but you weren't calling anything. So to me, that says you were like unsure of how to play against it because you were afraid of the snipers. You know, but you're on Lucio, probably not a comfortable pick for you, so you didn't really understand the tempo. I think the fact that you have to make a play, otherwise you're useless. You're just a standing, heal aura basically. You're like a ward. A mobile ward, basically.
Yeah.
That can't even give you vision because you can't peek the snipers. So, so I think to summarize, especially on the Ana, the conclusions that we reached are what?
Take more aggressive angles when possible. So like knowing when cooldowns are coming out, or sight lens of Widow, that sort of thing. Allow me to know when I can be more aggressive. Don't be afraid to nade myself. That's a smaller one though.
So let's put it like this to summarize: nades, comp based. So you're going to pay a little more attention to the enemy comp and your comp and figure out how you're going to have to use it. Because you didn't, I don't think you used you used maybe one defensive nade on that second round when really that should have been your priority. Understand when you need offensive nades and when you don't need offensive nades. So something to pay attention to. Because like we said, if you remember the first round when you had Mei, Hog, Lucio, and Orisa, we said essentially 4 pretty self-sufficient heroes in your composition, which means you're at more liberty to look for picks. But obviously, if you're playing dive compositions, you're not going to have a lot of peel. They have a lot of flankers, probably going to want to hold those cooldowns. And I think you were decent at holding your cooldowns and using them defensively. I mean, you never had any problem with the Roadhog or anything like that. In the Orisa Hog comps, you generally played pretty well. It was just, that little positioning and went to look for aggro nades. You didn't quite have that down, but overall, I think you did pretty decent. But yeah, it was clear that you didn't really understand how everything changes on that last stage. What else do we learn?
Thinking about how I'm gonna use my ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
So like who I'll combo with, or actually where I want to use it.
Mm-hmm. And just putting options on the table, right?
Yeah.
Very, very important, so that there's multiple options. So you go through between fights every single option that you think is conceivable, even the second or the third best. Because say Nano Hog is the best option and Nano Cowboy is the second best option, but as soon as you put both of those options on the table, McCree goes, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna try this. Make sure you nano me," and then he's actively contributing and trying to set it up so that you can enable him. Then maybe that second option becomes the number one option because your teammate is talking to you. He's willing to set it up, and he wants to make that play happen. So that's why it's important to put options out there. So it's not just like, oh, in this situation, this person is the best nano target. I'm not gonna nano anyone else. Which was kind of what happened. Someone said, "Oh, can you not nano me here?" And you're like, "No, I'm gonna nano Hog." Right? You didn't even consider anything else because you thought, okay, Hog is 100% the right nade option here. So putting all the options on the table is also going to help you, and going to help people respond to you as well.
Okay.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think this is the biggest thing in aggro. Not only with nade, but yeah, like positioning. Roadhog uses hook. You can push forward a little bit. Pull us out. You can push forward a little bit. So just identify the threats and identify which cooldowns it is important for you to track. In Orisa Hog comps, those are the 2 most important ones generally. So yeah, I identify what because you can't pay attention to everything.
It's dying.
Yeah, sorry. Hello?
My Discord just died. I don't know what you just said.
Oh, where did it stop?
Like 15 seconds ago.
Okay,
so what was your last sentence?
Yeah, so basically all I said was just also the way you identify when you can be aggressive is by identifying which cooldowns are the most important for you to keep track of. And obviously, first fight, you generally won't know what they're playing. But after first fight, and you can hold tab down immediately before fights, something you can remind yourself of, okay, which cooldowns do I need to keep track of? Oh, we're playing against Orisa Hog. I'm going to really keep track of the balls here so I can cross. I'm going to keep track of my Orisa's cooldowns as well, see where she shields, so that helps me cross, right? So also identify not only just non-targets, but identifying which cooldowns are the most important for you to track that are going to determine how you can position yourself. Also an important thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think everything kind of lands under this umbrella. All right. Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, it's kind of off topic, but what is your opinion of the collegiate scene?
Okay, well, let me just stop the recording and then we can talk about it.
Okay.